more, and that we have a lot more options available than what we just think in a very classical way that there is an ideal world and the markets will do everything. And I think if the market was to do everything, actually, that we may not require all these big institutions starting from World Bank and ADB and JICA and all that, also actually that, but because the market don't function frictionlessly the way we assume actually that, but we require, and this is from the old theories, that why do the firms exist and why do the organizations exist? Because there are huge transaction costs. And the transaction costs in this kind of international things are very huge. And although we assume in the models that there could be a carbon price which is existing, none of us are able to right now think about whether we might be able to converge with a single carbon market next year in South Africa. As such, but that is otherwise sometimes assumed in the model. So here we are trying to overcome that and put a lot of exogenous other way of managing the models and trying to tell the policymakers that there are other possibilities. It may at least in the short run and maybe in the long run, hopefully the market will start emerging. But this is not the time. So I just come very quickly. I'm just seeing that my chairperson is showing a 5-minute signal, and that's why I just transit. I will transit very quickly to a low time society. So we have many projects coming up. I won't speak much on this. Kanwa-san in her presentation borrowed this slide from me and already showed this slide in the morning. And we have many infrastructure projects which are coming up. Now, this infrastructure investment don't show up very much in a classical modeling exercise so easily. And so, this is the supply side push of this. I'm putting this particular one project up there because this is going up very closely with the Japanese cooperation. This project with the investment from JBIC and support also from JICA and so we have a lot of corridors coming up. The basic idea is that how do we fight against the motorization and move towards a more a sustainable transport which could be more on the rail and that direction when it comes to the motorization as such. Similarly, we are also laying a huge amount of infrastructures for energy, which also includes all the pipelines and the transmission wires and many things. And so we are examining. First thing first is that we have the business as usual numbers which are very high. And so how can we reduce those movements? First, one of our recent study is to look at every sector, about 2 trains out of 5 in India which are carrying goods are just carrying coal. And so it's not needed if you can put the power stations which are near your coal mines and then transmit through the wires the electricity, then to move the coal, which is not so efficient. But then, because of the infrastructure problems and other things, we are not doing that. So we are just looking at that there is a lot of scope of reducing some of those numbers as compared to what we see in the business as usual development. But many of these may not be coming to the market, and a lot of other push which is coming from the government policies would be needed. And similarly, we started looking at the low carbon cities, and you can find one brochure of ours on this, on the city called Ahmedabad, where it's a big city in India. And of course, I come from there, and my institute is there, so we could do a lot more study there. But the basic target we were trying to put there was that the current number in Ahmedabad in 2005 was about 2 ton per person, a low emission number, and that in 2050. If we can keep it, because the 2050 IPCC number for the global emission per capita is about 2 ton. So if we can keep that 2 ton going, the BAU number could go like this. But how can we ban that number and just come over here? And so we are finding various possibilities of pushing very quickly the metro trains and that kind of development through the various government programs. Again, it's not that somebody is, because all over the world it's not very easy for the metros to run on profits. Very few places the metros are running a profit, and so this might have to be done by various other policy push, at least in initial years, to catch up. And then another thing we are looking at as a part of one of the missions is there will be connection between the water and energy and climate change, and how do we exploit this and take advantage. And so this analysis is a lot more dependent upon the co-benefit idea that probably we may not do it just because of the climate change, but we want to have energy secure and water secure India. And that we would, and this connects so much with the climate change, that we would just do that. And so as a result, our policymakers are more keen on looking first at that if we have such results, but what would it mean to the energy security of India? What would it mean to reducing the air quality or improving the air quality in India? And then maybe as we ban some of these strands of sulfur dioxide and other things, the carbon dioxide may still go up. Maybe this would also change, but then as a result of bad development now there is a high correlation here, and so you just don't want to have the local pollutants coming down, the carbon still going up. Maybe you might have to align this policy and do that. And so we are talking more about not only the carbon prices that exist internationally, but if you minus the co-benefits, the social value of carbon in India may be lower, which would mean that one of our efforts is to gain through various actions a lot of co-benefits, so that it reduces the carbon price impact on India, on the Indian economy, and so maybe the impact of and also the resistance then to accept some of the carbon-related policies as such, And so the final slide is this, that I'm in time, and so we have this, that we have two parts. One is the policies and actions, that we are already mapping them out, and the other is that we are trying to create in India a low carbon society roadmap. First, looking at the 2020, which is the current negotiation period, and then to look at in the longer run. Only thing is that the next 10-year window of opportunity that we have, that we just cannot say that we will think about 2050 after 2020, because it's very much aligned, and probably we might put up some 300 or 400 megawatt of new power capacity, gigawatt of power capacity during that time, just as happened in China between the Kyoto time to now as such. And so if you think that we will solve rest of the problem after 2020, we might just miss that window of opportunity, because we might just be putting the wrong infrastructure, the wrong choice of power plants actually, and we just cannot unlock ourselves from that, because these infrastructures last for very long periods. And so the current decisions are going to have a lot more impact on the long-term trends of the energy path and the carbon path in India. And so we are more or less saying that they just think, do the actions in short term, but keep the perspective in the long term. And so, and again thank all our colleagues in Japan for helping us with the quantification of some of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shukla. So now we go so we have questions, comments. I can take one or two. Sustainable development. Maybe it's very important issue, sustainability. Everyone.
Please.
Thank you again. I was in Ahmedabad just recently again, also myself. And I know that Ahmedabad, you have had a wonderful research of this kind, and also in some other cities in India. But what I was concerned about this was also one of my speeches, which I made in Ahmedabad last month, and that was about the diversity between different cities in India, where things are going rather well, other than also going well. And what sort of policies, or shall I say differentiated incentives, are you really planning to introduce in order to accelerate the transition to a low carbon society as quickly as possible, as being done in Ahmedabad?
Well, thank you, Mr. Rama. I think that is a very excellent question. We are dealing with this anyway. I think I have a kind of a quick answer to that. One is that India is like it's one country, but it has many countries inside. You can find that every region is so different in India. So that the leading states, like my state, where Ahmedabad is located actually, Just providing some kind of the possibilities and imposing it to the others. And so just like in Africa and even if you take Europe, there are countries which are so diverse as such. And so something what may succeed in England or Germany may not necessarily be succeeding in Romania or something. So we have that kind of an architecture. However, as such, we are now, the current stage, we are involving now the state till now, almost all policies and all the interface on the climate change was only with the central government. And there was no connection. The states, you won't even find even the head of the environment agency has any idea about what the climate change is all about. So in the current time, we are having a lot of the states coming in, and the other is the cities network, which are coming in. So the programs which are now coming from Delhi are providing to the cities the incentives for some of these the climate change related activities, and including various infrastructure activities. For example, in Ahmedabad, you were there about a month back, and if we want to put a metro in Ahmedabad, almost half the money could be provided by the central government, but half the money will have to be raised through India. So some of these are removing some of the constraints on making those transitions and such actually that. But it's a big country and still the incomes are quite low. So the roadmaps would still require a lot of support, and then we are absolutely up for any international support in this transition.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks again for your presentation.